Hey guys, so a few weeks ago I dropped my 9XR and broke the bearings in the gimbals here. I've since taken it apart and kind of fixed it a little bit, but it still doesn't feel just right, and it never did feel real great anyway. But so Aloft has these Taranis gimbals for $10 a piece. I couldn't pass it up, so we're gonna install them and see if that feels any better. So if you've never had your 9XR apart, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. Pull the mod off, back cover, battery, I've taken or lost most of the screws out of this thing so many times. Should go pretty quick. So my fix for dropping the gimbals was my daughter's hair bands. For one, I messed up the springs. So I was a little worried that the Taranis gimbals, this is the original one, wouldn't fit in the same recess on the trim panel as your original 9XR gimbals. But they're a little snug, but they do fit, and they fit pretty nicely. There are differences on the mounting tabs. So we're going to have to cut away these big ones on the corners. They don't fit inside the body. But I'll show you that in a little bit. So there's two brakes for the throttle axis. The one on the outside's got a ratchet on it. I chose not to use that one. I chose to use this one. Just tighten it down just enough to where when I put the throttle down, it stays down. I don't really want a lot of tension on it, but I don't want it flopping around like this old ugly guy here used to do. The wires alone would cause it to come up a little bit just when you pushed it back in the case. So, but there was no way to stop that on the old 9XR. So these new ones are not going to fit without doing some trimming, so we're going to take these outside ears off and clean them up a little bit. See? Getting closer. So the holes in the original case, corner to corner, are a little bit larger, spread out further apart than the ones on the Taranis gimbals. So I'm hoping, we'll see how it works out. I'm just going to notch these corners out, elongate these holes a little bit, maybe knock them all the way out, and use 2 of the original case screws. They're a little bit longer than the original gimbal screws. The original gimbal screws got a lot thinner hole here for it to pass, for the screw that has to pass through. So those are too short. Yeah, I could run out into the hardware store, but we're just going to try to see what we can work with. See if we can work with what we have. Let's give it a shot. Probably could have made that a little bit cleaner, but it is what it is. It's $10, right? If it doesn't work, we can either try it again or glue them in. That's what everybody else does. Okay, so that's in there good and snug. Let's see if the cover fits on and see how centered they are. When you go to put this cover back on, you're going to have these outside switches are going to be up or down, and you got to kind of move them to the center. Seeing a little bit of light bleed through here, so that tells me it's not centered. Looks good to me. They could be a little, I mean, they're canted just a little bit, so that's probably because I didn't quite get the holes on in the back just right. I'm okay with it. So I got to looking at it a little bit more on the case, and I really just wanted this to fit in just nice and perfect like it does here. And I could not get that with the way we had it mounted before. So I think what we're going to do is, see how nice that just fits in there? I mean, that just good snug fit, no light bleed around anywhere. Centered up nice and tight. So I think to achieve that, I'm going to notch these out, these mount holes out a little bit. and just not use the mount holes. That way this recesses into the case a little bit deeper towards the bezel, towards the faceplate. I think that's just going to give it a nice clean look. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So cutting that out, was able to get this recess just nice and flush around with that trim bezel there. I'll show you, compared the old one with the new one, what's going on here. See that lip on the Taranis gimbal? It's a little bit taller, so when it bottomed out on the bezel, it left a gap down here. So cutting this out was able to push that up to where it flushed up with that faceplate bezel thing really nice. It's just a real good fit, so I'm happy with it. I'm going to do the other one, put it all back together and calibrate the sticks. So here's the fun part of this. It looks scary, but it's not really so bad. The Taranis comes with extra wires on the plug, probably for their trim switches. Our trim switches are mounted into the case already, so they don't really need the extra plug for that. So we're going to go ahead and pull the pins out of this big connector, and we're going to use our connectors off of here for that. So we can follow the wires if we, if you don't understand what goes to what. So you've got on your pot, you've got a brown, an orange, and a yellow. On the center, brown, yellow, and orange. So we're just going to we're going to swap it around to where we have the 3 in a row. Yellow in the middle on the Taranis gimbal. It's going to go to our center pin here. So we're just going to match them up just like they come out of the pots, straight into there. So I couldn't remember which one of these 2 ports was which axis. I ran the throttle over to the center one for now, just to try it out, see what happens. So hooked the battery up. I probably could have looked it up on the internet or whatever, but whatever. Anyway, hook the battery up, turn the power on, go to the calibration screen. And you can see that the throttle is actually moving left and right. So I've got that on the wrong port. So we got it working. Just had to swap a few wires around. So the 9XR and the Taranis, another difference is the way that they have the pots wired up. The original switch had this connector on it, and we just put them back the same way it was. Whatever that was, orange, yellow, brown, orange, yellow, brown. So we've actually swapped it around now. So now the new color code is going to be brown, yellow, orange, orange, yellow, brown, orange, yellow, brown, brown, yellow, orange. So when you get your new pots or your new gimbals, you put them in. That's the way you should wire them up, and you should be trouble-free. We've already confirmed it. I flipped it over a while ago and checked. So up and down, left and right, right and left, up and down, good to go. So we've gone through the calibration again. And everything's working like it's supposed to. So I've trimmed out the sticks here. They're not perfect. They're really good gimbals, but as you can see, they don't always go back perfect to zero. I've never owned any better transmitter than this, so not really that worried about it. The old gimbals were off by like 2 full points, so they were trimmed way out. Sometimes they would center, sometimes they wouldn't. They just had really bad pots in them. So the springs feel real good. The detents feel real good. They're real nice and smooth. It's just got a lot better feel to it. I can't wait to go out and fly it. So if you like what you see, share it, pass it along. If you know somebody else that has one of these, it's definitely worth the $20 for an investment. So, you know, it's a great transmitter. It doesn't talk, but I don't really care that it doesn't talk to me. It beeps when I get far enough out of signal. The only thing I didn't like about it before was the gimbals, and $20 to fix that. So it's not a Taranis, but it doesn't cost as much as a Taranis either. So I don't know. I just think it's a good. I don't know what else to say about it. So if you like the video, share it, pass it along, subscribe. If you have anything that maybe I missed or that you're unclear on, just ask me in the comments. Thanks.